From here on, I'm going to get even more complicated. I want you to pay attention. This is the most important part of the speech. Bill Moyers said this recently in a speech on October 20th, 2004 at the Palace Hotel. For years now, the corporate, political, and religious left, this is documented from 1971 on, the religious and political right has been joined in an axis of influence whose purpose is to take back the gains of the democratic renewal in the 20th century and restore America to a rule of the elites that maintain their privilege and their power at the expense of everyone else. For years now, a small fraction of American households have been garnering an extreme concentration of wealth and income, while large corporations and financial institutions have obtained unprecedented levels of economic power over daily life. Take note, Moyers continues. The corporate, political, and religious conservatives are achieving a vast transformation of America that only they understand because they are its advocates, its architects, and its beneficiaries. In creating the greatest inequality in America since 1929, they have saddled our nation, our states, and our cities and counties with structural defects that will last until our children's children's children are ready for retirement, and they are systematically stripping government of all its functions except rewarding the rich and waging war. In other words, our country has been taken away from us by a cabal that includes all the people who hate us. These people make the rules. They are rarely elected officials. They may or may not know each other. They have several things in common. They are very rich or have strong connections to money or power. They are in agreement on what they want, what they do not want. They believe fervently in their God, and they are doing all this for him. These are my words now, not Bill's. And they stay in constant touch. I hope you realize that all these people Bill Moyers is talking about hate us. Thriller writers write better histories of our times than newspapers or actual historians. Anyway, it is done, what Moyers is talking about. It's already happened on a scale of such magnitude that it is difficult to see how we can ever take it back. It's all in place now, this cabal of power. It almost doesn't make any difference who is president. You want to know why AIDS was allowed to happen? This is your answer. You want to know why gay people have no power and are unlikely to get any? This is your answer. The top 1% of wealth holders control 39% of total household wealth. The richest 5% of households own 2/3 of the value of all stock. The top 1% have as many after-tax dollars to spend as the bottom 100 million people. The richest 20% of households received almost 50% of the national income, while the bottom 20% received only 3%. At a time when 256 million in the United States were billionaires, 32 million people were living beneath the official poverty line. This inequality gap in the United States is the highest in the industrialized world. That drive, Moyers continues, is succeeding with drastic consequences for an equitable access to public resources, the lifeblood of any democracy, from land, water, and natural resources to media and the broadcast and digital spectrums, to scientific discovery and medical breakthroughs, and even to politics itself. A broad range of American democracy is undergoing a powerful shift in the direction of private control. We are experiencing a fanatical drive to dismantle the political institutions, the legal and statutory canons and the intellectual and cultural frameworks that have shaped public responsibility for social harms arising from the excess of private power. That's the end of Bill Moore's quote. In 1971, Lewis Powell, a Richmond lawyer who called himself a centrist, was secretly commissioned by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce to write a confidential plan on how to take back America for the survival of the free enterprise system. Not democracy, free enterprise. Barry Goldwater had lost. Nixon was about to implode. Vietnam had sucked the nation's soul dry. The cabal saw their world unraveling. They saw the women's movement, black civil rights, student war protesters, the Cold War. They saw the world as they knew it coming to an end. We are not the first to feel our world crumbling and becoming powerless. This is what Lewis Powell wrote. Survival lies in organization, in careful, long-range planning, in consistency of action over an indefinite period of years, in the scale of financing only available through the joint effort, and in the political power available only through united action. This was the birth of what is now called the vast right-wing conspiracy. It is known as the Powell Manifesto. You can Google Lewis Powell, not the one who helped to assassinate Lincoln, and read it in its entirety. Survival lies in organization, in careful, long-range planning, in consistency of action over an indefinite period of years, in the scale of financing only available through joint effort, and in the political power available only through united action. Under the supervision of some of the richest families in America, that plan has been followed faithfully since 1971, and it has resulted in these past years of horror and the re-election of George Bush. 9 families and their foundations, all under the insistent goading of Joseph Coors, have financed much of this. The Bradley Foundation, the Smith-Richardson Foundation, 4 Scaife family foundations, the John M. Olin Foundation, the Castle Rock or Coors Foundation, 3 Koch family foundations, the Earhart Foundation, the J.M. Foundation, the McKenna Foundation. From 1985 to 2001 alone, they contributed $650 million to this conservative message campaign. They have helped to launch and gain financing for networks of newspapers and magazines. They have seen to it that hundreds of the most powerful think tanks have appeared, including the Heritage Foundation, the Hoover Institute, the American Enterprise, Cato, Manhattan, Hudson Institutes, and many more. There are now in place an ever-growing number of well-funded student organizations at many colleges. There are legal advocacy foundations, such as the Center for Individual Rights and Judicial Watch. There are leadership institutes and action institutes and institutes on religion and public policy and religion and democracy. There is a heavily visible media participation. Fox Television and Pat Robertson and Oliver North and Radio America and the Washington Times and Ann Coulter, Judge Rush Limbaugh, to name but a very few, including the editorial page of the Wall Street Journal. For the preparation of this manifesto, Lewis Powell was rewarded by Richard Nixon with a seat on the Supreme Court, where, among other things, he voted against gays in Bowers versus Hardwick and against black people in Bakke versus University of California. It is vital for us to realize that this plan was written in 1971. The people it was written for did not go off then to a disco or to the pines, or into therapy, or into drugs. They took this plan and they have executed it religiously every day and night for the next 35 years, initially with some $400 million, and always from then until now with unending hours of backbreaking, grinding, unglamorous work of civic engagements, county by county, across the entire expanse of America. They took the richest and most liberal nation in the history of civilization and turned it hard right into a classist, racist, homophobic imperial army of pirates. 30% of America now self-identify as conservative or extremely conservative. When Lewis Powell wrote his manifesto, that figure was less than 10%. And on the morning of November 3rd, we wrung our hands and wondered why. And we have a community that still cannot decide on what we want or what to do. We are completely inept at organizing ourselves and have a monstrously bad record of attempting unity. The continuing existence of HIV is essential for the functioning of totalitarianism under which gay people now live. It works out like this. HIV allows them to sell us as sick, and that kills off our usefulness, both in our own minds, they're thinking we are sick, and in the eyes of the world, everyone thinking we are sick. All of this obliterates the consciousness of those who should help us and don't. This liquidates and incinerates our individuality and our spontaneity, our abilities to fight back, to hold our oppressors to task. They want to keep HIV going as long as they can. Why haven't we seen that? The signs have always been there. But like everything else, we couldn't believe them. No one could be as cruel as that. They want to make us superfluous. Their media, their newspapers, their networks will see to it that our good qualities are invisible. It should therefore come as no surprise that when HIV came along, they, this cabal, facilitated its rapid development and continue to do so, before even making the feeblest attempt to commence any minuscule response or inquiry into what their press was not reporting, which they most certainly knew about themselves. They waited until masses of us had all been exposed to whatever it was.